Right now we're asking people what they know about the Kent State shooting in 1970. Do you know anything about it?
I don't know much about it, actually, so.
I don't really know a whole lot of anything about it.
Nothing. When was it? Like
well, it happened in 1970.
Oh.
Not very much.
Care to venture any information?
I'm going to be honest, I know almost nothing about the Kent State shooting.
I don't know a ton. I watched a documentary on it in my 60s class in high school, so about 3 years ago, so it might be a little fuzzy. But what I remember from that is that there was a protest about the Vietnam War, is that right? And it got violent whenever police came and intervened, and yeah, that's about it. The documentary showed that it was like a peaceful protest, and then I think it said something about someone threw a rock or something, and the police took that as like, let's shoot them. So I think the police started it, as far as I know.
I think that it is important because I mean, like, traditionally a lot of young people haven't been super involved in politics, so the fact that like they're kind of starting to get more involved and be more aware of like what actually is going on, like, I'm all for that.
Yes, because I mean everyone should have like their voice be heard about like anything that's happening right now. It's important too because they say like a lot of younger people like us, like 18 to whatever, they don't vote a lot or they don't really understand a lot about like what's happening with our government. So like when they finally do, it's unfair and unjust for them to say they shouldn't be able to do it.
I definitely think student activism is important because, I mean, we go to school here, we have the right to say what we want, and I mean, if it's a peaceful assembly, then I don't see any problem with it. But I would be wary of like being violent in that and saying violent things, that sort of deal.
I do think it's important. I think if you don't have the student voice, then a lot of the times they can get neglected and then they can get oversaw by people who might not be in their shoes at the moment. And unless you're in that exact scenario, you don't know what the demands are. So it's very important that we get out there and we activate and we advocate for ourselves on campus.
I think it's important that we voice our opinions. I mean, obviously you shouldn't go like that extreme, like peaceful protests, like can speak wonders. But yeah, I think it's important students have a way to like voice their opinion about things. So
For sure, I think so. I feel like college students are always the most outspoken on those issues, especially the ones that actually care about it. And you kind of see that with like, I know that like a lot of the free speech movement happened at Berkeley, and especially in the West Coast, you see a lot of movements just whenever there's any outrage about anything. And so like students being the most vocal, I think they give a voice to a lot of people.
I definitely think it is. I think because students are like the next generation or the next people to really take charge or take those positions that are left unfilled. So I think, or into the workforce, I definitely think that they could not necessarily go about them differently, but plan them out to the full extent to where they actually make change.
I think that like it has to do, I mean, when you are a student, it has to do more with interacting with other students and like getting them to talk about politics with you, being like open to listening to their opinions, and I mean, just encouraging them to understand that like they have a voice too, as a citizen of this country.
Well, especially like now with the Me Too movement and even with like the gun laws, you see it like all over like social media, and that helps like influence people, especially younger people's opinions about it. And if they get like a better understanding, it could help make change. And if they participate in voting and like even just like rallies or whatever to support or protest against certain issues, then it could help make change.
I would say it gets lost a lot of the time, like a single voice gets lost in the majority, but I would say, relatively speaking, I would have a political voice like on campus in my group of friends.
I do, yeah. I feel like the people and the professors listen to me on campus. I feel like any sort of mentor that I've talked to, they're always willing to extend a helping hand to me. Anybody is willing to open their door in whatever facet they may be. They're very open-minded because they're always looking to improve the lives of their students around them.
Kind of. I mean, like we have like
like the ability to vote, like we have that right, and that's awesome, and like not everywhere has that. But then again, like it's kind of hard to like change like legislation. I'm actually doing like a research project now about like changing legislation and things like that, and it can be kind of difficult. And like there's petitions and things like that, but there's lots of rules and like things that you have to go through, and it can be kind of expensive. And so I don't know, I feel like it could be a little easier to like, I don't know, get our voice into government. So.
Yeah, but not just like mine by itself. It's like banded together with other students. I think students together can make a lot of change.
I think if anybody on campus is, you know, standing in a spot and they're like speaking and they're saying their opinion, and you know, if a group gathers around, that's infectious. I think whether or not, you know, somebody learns something while walking by, or they argue that opinion, and that's where, you know, arguments and a conversation kind of walk a fine line. Because if you and I can have a conversation maturely about politics and like not necessarily like force my opinion onto you or yours to mine, I feel like if we were more mature about how we went about discussing politics, I think change would be enforced.